Hello and welcome to another edition of the VenuePro Podcast. Thanks very much for joining. Today we're going to be focusing on New Zealand and specifically looking at how technology is helping to deliver world-class venues and events whilst ensuring crowd safety and security. I'm really delighted to be welcoming Mat Hellyer to the VenuePro Podcast. Mat is the General Manager for Events and Operations at Sky Stadium in Wellington, New Zealand, where he's been a leading figure for the last decade or so. Matt's also a chair of the Crowded Places Business Advisory Group, which is a role centred on safety and preparedness in crowded public spaces. And that body also reports to the government security and counter-terrorism organisations. So we'll find out more about that shortly. But without further ado, a very warm welcome to you, Mat. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Gary, no trouble at all. Thanks for having me.
To get us started, please can you provide a bit of information as to your background, your experience in the venue management space?
Of course. So my career spans a couple of decades now, so primarily across venue management, tourist attractions and hospitality. I've worked in a few places around the world now, Toronto, London, Melbourne, and Wellington, of course, where I've been here for the past 12 years or so. And venues specifically, so as you mentioned, I'm currently the General Manager Events and Operations at Sky Stadium. We're the second largest stadium in New Zealand. And yeah, my role encompasses everything from strategic planning of our event calendar and our key services, of course, overseeing operational delivery on the ground, and yeah, I've led the team that's delivered some of Wellington and New Zealand's most significant events across sport and music, from World Cups to major international acts.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much. And can you also just provide a bit of an overview of Sky Stadium and the type of events that take place there?
Yeah, I guess we're best described, I suppose, as we're a true multi-purpose venue. So we've got home teams across rugby and football, and I guess at a regional level, we've got the Hurricanes and Super Rugby, the Wellington Lions, and the National Provincial Championship, which is the sort of national rugby competition, and the Wellington Phoenix men and women in the A-League Football League. At a national level, of course, we've got the All Blacks rugby team, All Whites football team, and the Black Caps cricket team. To your viewers and listeners and other parts of the world that may be unfamiliar, yes, there is a bit of a theme to the naming of our national teams that might seem a little strange. We recently hosted the Wrexham Football Club, which was quite fascinating. Obviously a bit of Hollywood power behind that one, so that was very cool. And we're a concert venue, as I mentioned, hosted many major acts over the years, and I guess most recently the likes of Eminem, Guns N' Roses, Ed Sheeran, Foo Fighters, even Bowie and the Stones back in the day, before my time, unfortunately. We've hosted the likes of the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo twice, where a replica castle was constructed down one end of the pitch. Yeah, that event's memorable for several reasons. We also host several annual exhibitions, the likes of the Food Show, the Home and Garden Show, Armageddon Expo, and we recently wrapped up Beervana, which is New Zealand's largest craft beer festival. Yes, we also host action sport type events, so the likes of Nitro Circus, Freestyle Kings, and in 2.5 weeks' time we'll have the Hot Wheels Monster Trucks show here, which is very exciting. But we're also a community venue at heart as well. We host the likes of the Cancer Society's Relay for Life fundraising event, Eid Day celebrations for the Muslim community, that type of thing. We're also a busy function and convention centre, so that sort of fills in the gaps during the week as well. And we're Wellington's second largest commuter car park as well, and its largest training venue. So yeah, we're busy most days of the year. We're actually hosting a sold out All Blacks rugby test against South Africa this Saturday in 2 days' time.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, proper multi-usage venue. That's incredible.
Hmm.
And you say you're busy most days of the week.
Most days, it'd be fair to say. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I
So
mean,
so
the
what
nature of
what
our industry has peaks and troughs, of course, but yeah, we've got a pretty solid calendar for sure.
that's incredible. So on that basis, I mean, if you're thinking about being operational for most of the year and the multi-usage aspects of the venue, what are your kind of main operational challenges when kind of planning for this totally different, varied, multi-use situation? And what are your kind of biggest pain points?
Yeah, I think for us it often comes down to that coordination and the time frames that we're working in and the scale, of course. So I guess with the tight turnarounds in between events and the fact that we're dealing with such different sized and I guess different capability and resourcing. And one day we might be dealing with a very well-resourced national sporting body, and then dealing with a small community group the next, with 200 plus exhibitor trade shows in between. So I guess the sort of size and nature of our venue means you know those changeovers and making them efficient can be a bit challenging at times, perhaps more so than some venues that are well set up to switch out between those in short time frames. But yeah, for us, I guess we're a very small team for what we're able to deliver, and certainly with one of the busiest schedules in the country, we're really proud of what we are able to achieve. And um, yeah, you mentioned switching to event day at South. I suppose that's when the focus really shifts to safety and crowd management, transport, customer experience, all those things. I think like like many venues like us, we rely really heavily on our service providers who all need to do their bit and come together seamlessly. Wellington's quite a small city, so staffing can be challenging at times. But our partners work really hard to attract and retain staff, and they do a great job of that. And constantly trying to grow their staffing pool's capability and ensuring that they're delivering on what we need. Um, the pain points specifically, I think it's often things that are outside of our control. The weather can be a factor in Wellington. I'm loath to say. But we are an outdoor venue in a harbourside environment in quite a windy city, so that's just the reality of what we're working in. That can impact everything from turf management to transport to the customer experience itself, of course. Um, Transport specifically, the infrastructure, and it's not just a Wellington challenge; it's a nationwide challenge. But in Wellington, we're undergoing major upgrade works across a 10-year period, so that can cause a bit of disruption for our events from time to time. And again, with Wellington being quite a compact city, when the trains are down, the traffic increases, and that can cause some pretty significant congestion. Um, but on the plus side, our venue is incredibly well connected to the city. We sit just at the sort of north end of the CBD, and it's a very short walk, effectively connected by a walkway right to our front gates. And the transport services are right on our doorstep, so that the train platforms themselves are actually connected via a series of ramps right up to that walkway, which basically drops you right outside our gates. Um, I think we're quite unique for a large venue in that all of our gates are in the same place. So everyone comes in and leaves via the same place. Um, so that can make ingress and egress a bit of a challenge at times. And I suppose it increases the risk in terms of needing to secure those spaces that all those people are moving through. Um, Processing, large crowds like that all in one place, whilst sort of maintaining our service standards is a challenge, of course, but um, equally, I guess from a monitoring and sort of crowd management perspective, that also has some significant benefits as well when we're not dealing with multiple entry and exit points.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you've obviously been at the forefront of operations at Sky Stadiums for the last 11 years or so, just over. Um, I'm assuming you've seen a lot of change in that time, particularly around technology. And how has technology kind of changed, would you say, over that period of time or even before that? And, particularly in relation to venue and event management, the crowd safety side that you just mentioned, and fan engagement as well.
100%. Yeah, look, I think like any venue will tell you, it's in a over a decade's time, it completely reshaped how we plan for events and run our venue. When I started here, there was a lot that was still manual spreadsheets and even paper based, and that is still true in some cases. But certainly the software applications that we've applied in that time across health and safety, incident reporting, risk management, control logging, comms with staff, all those things. Um, and then also, app-based and NFC ticketing, for example, digital signage, IPTV, the point of sale system. So we're a entirely cashless venue. All these things make a huge difference to operational efficiency and the guest experience. Um, I think probably the biggest change really is in our ability to make decisions, and technology, gives us that much better information, real-time information, so we can make proactive decisions and deliver better experiences. Um, Here, we recently upgraded our big screens to the latest Samsung tech, and currently undertaking an upgrade review of our production suite. So again, all critical elements to that fan experience. We're also looking at our CCTV, and that's been a really interesting exercise, sort of seeing what's out there, and just in the few years since we last upgraded, the capability in that space has just absolutely taken off. So and especially the integration with wider security systems, so you get a more broader picture of your site and your ability to secure it is really valuable. So yeah, some really exciting things happening there. But as you know, technology is just changing so rapidly that it can be hard to keep up with. But yeah, certainly we're always looking at ways that we can better engage with our guests and ensure that the venue's safe and secure.
Yeah, and I'm assuming just because of the size and nature of the venue, you're probably up there in terms of the latest tech. How do you how does the venues in New Zealand generally, how are they kind of keeping up with the latest technology, and how do you think they're getting on in that regard? Particularly thinking about your kind of role as the chair of the Crowded Places Business Advisory Group. I'm assuming you've got a bit of a kind of more, more widespread view of what's going on in New Zealand more generally.
Yeah, I do. I guess, yeah, going to your first comment, I would say that, yeah, firstly, New Zealand's quite an interesting place, and we're not as big as markets like the US and the UK, and certainly uh, not on the same level in terms of budgets and capability. So I think adoption of some technologies can lag, but in fairness, it's not certainly, the desire is certainly there. It's not a lack of desire, but I think generally the challenge is that budgets don't match that desire. So venues here, I think, have to be quite strategic about where they invest in, just to ensure that they're getting the best out of what they're looking at, and the most effective solutions for them. Um, I think in the security technology space, particularly, New Zealand venues are quite conscious of, I guess, making sure that what they're looking at is proportionate to the risk as well. So, as I say, we're sort of not on the same level in terms of the risk levels that are seen in those other markets, but um, there are some things that we do very well here as well. So, I think a good example is the likes of integrated CCTV with city operations. Um, that allows real-time sharing of footage and information, so that issues and threats can be identified early and responded to jointly. So that's shown huge value in most of the big centres in New Zealand. Um, I guess in terms of opportunities, probably the big ones I think are around data capture and use, and particularly using integrated platforms around ticketing, security, customer feedback in real time. Um, Predictive analytics, a crowd movement, I think is going to be a really big one for us. Automation, of course, so there's a lot happening in that space, especially around entry screening, biometrics, facial recognition. A lot of these things I'm quite aware are common in the larger markets overseas, but some of those are still sort of emerging here, and on the biometrics specifically, we're still working through some of the privacy issues in this part of the world, but some recent tests of that have had a really positive response from government, and I expect we're going to see quite a lot more of the likes of facial recognition in particular in the next few years. But we watch developments overseas with a great deal of interest, and especially around the use of AI and the impact that's going to have. Seeing quite a lot in the weapons detection space, and obviously protective security is a particular interest of mine, and in a space that I'm close to. So again, common in the larger markets, but there are a few of the larger venues picking it up in this part of the world. Yeah, I guess one benefit of being a late adopter is that we're able to draw from the experiences of others, and make sure that we're making the right decisions from those real and learned experiences.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Makes sense. And just can you just give us a bit of information about the Crowded Places Business Advisory Group, how that kind of came about, and what's your kind of involvement, and what are you looking to achieve with it?
Absolutely. So that's a role in a piece of work that I'm really proud of, and it all was born from an all of government initiative to create what's called Protecting Crowded Places from Attack New Zealand strategy. It draws from Australia's strategy called what is it called? Australia's strategy for protecting crowded places from terrorism. Um, and really, I guess it was developed to help owners, operators, or anyone that creates a crowded place. So obviously, crowded places being, a location or an open space where large numbers of people access easily and predictably. So basically, it intends to provide a common message and tools for those owners and operators to protect their place from attack or a similar incident, or at least minimize the impact of such an event. Um, the strategy itself, so it's got four key pillars in it, and one of the important ones is building stronger partnerships. Um, and it's one sort of key step from implementing that particular pillar is the establishment of these advisory groups. And so there are two: a business one, which is known as the BAG, and a community one, which is known as the CAG. And I've been very privileged to serve as the chair of the business one for about 4.5 years now. Um, we are we're effectively a group of senior business leaders across all sectors really that own and operate creative places and represent creative places for that matter in New Zealand. So we've got the likes of airports, shopping centres, restaurants, business districts, grocery, retail, transport, universities, venues and events, of course, and amongst a few others. Um, Mixture of both the private and the public sector, and we've got a good mixture of CEOs, heads of national member organisations, as well as professionals in security, risk, and communications as well. Yeah, really, I guess the group's key aims are, we've got a pretty clear purpose, and that's to give voice to business, and really provide a mechanism for collaboration and feedback and information and resource sharing. And I guess the overall aim is to increase the capability of New Zealand businesses to deter, detect, delay, and respond to an attack or a similar incident. So I guess really what that means is a nation of businesses that are aware and prepared, and we want businesses treating protective security as normally as day-to-day planning for any other hazard or emergency, and you're really trying to normalize this topic, I guess, and make it easier to talk about, and easier for businesses to think about and accept and really embed what's in the strategy and yeah, make it part of their day to day.
And that's is that the strategies that have been launched yet, or are you still looking to launch that soon? I think when we last spoke, you
Well,
said that was coming out fairly soon.
that's right. That's an yeah, interesting point actually. So at the time, the strategy was released effectively. It was a there were a few reasons that it was done sort of without any fanfare. There was no official government launch at the time. So and there were some sensitivities around the atrocities that happened in Christchurch in 2019, the pandemic, of course. So yeah, it sort of flew under the radar a bit and was just distributed to certain businesses or those in the security industry and the like. So um, we had been optimistically targeting a release just this week, and we held a forum on Monday, which was fantastic, and we had Associate Minister of Police, Director General of the New Zealand Intelligence Security Service, speaking at that. And yeah, now we're just waiting for an opportunity to go public with that and get it out there. So we're hopeful that that day is coming any moment now.
Yeah, amazing. It sounds like a real kind of a legacy, something to really really get your teeth into and make a real difference. That's amazing. And then just on the sort of subject of security and crowd safety still, how do you at Sky Stadium, how do you go about kind of balancing security, the crowd safety, risk management, but not impact too much on the guest experience? Because it's obviously quite a difficult balancing act to get right.
100%. Yeah, I mean that's really the essence of our role in venue operations. And yeah, I had a saying with my old boss that everyone goes home safe and everything else is a bonus. Obviously, guest experience has to be a close number two to that. Nobody comes to a venue looking to be reminded of risk. They come to be entertained. So, our job's to make sure that guests feel safe without having to think about it, and without what we're doing, feeling too intrusive. Um, so I guess in terms of how we go about that, we use I guess what's called a layered security model. So some of it's highly visible, like bag checks, metal wanding on entrance, for example, roving staff, the like. But much of it's out of sight, of course, around staff training scenarios, surveillance, and intelligence sharing, for example. Um, I think, yeah, what's interesting, particularly when we look at overseas, physical security is perhaps not as well developed in New Zealand. We don't have a strong physical security culture like we see in many places around the world, and but I think that's really something that venues in New Zealand lead the way on as an industry. So, but yeah, of course, we've got to balance that really carefully with making sure people feel safe, but not policed. Um, I guess the communication is really critical, particularly on the lead up. So being clear with our guests what they can expect, so that they arrive, feeling informed rather than feeling inconvenienced. I guess when they're going through that, um, and yeah, it's about creating a secure environment really that feels welcoming. And but yeah, it's an ongoing challenge for most in our line of work for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just looking to the future, how do you sort of see Sky Stadium and maybe venues in New Zealand as well evolving over the next 5 years to deliver on visitor experience, safety demands, and thinking from a technology perspective, what role do you think technology will play in kind of help delivering what's required over the next 5 years or so?
Yeah, look, that's going to be a really fascinating to see. I think from a venue perspective, the that evolution I think is going to depend on the event content that we see coming through. But um, I think for most venues in New Zealand, the pipeline's looking pretty strong. And although we've got some challenges in bringing major concerts to New Zealand, for example, and into the bigger venues, but the event landscape outside of that is really strong in New Zealand. I think um, fans' expectations are going to increase exponentially, and fans, I think, people are seeing these new and refurbished venues, high-tech venues overseas that are popping up all around the world, and increasingly people are going to want more seamless sort of experiences and journeys right from the purchasing their ticket to their arrival and getting in their seat and ordering their food and then getting home, of course. So I think venues need to be particularly focused on delivering those things and but as well focused on investing into their assets as well. But something that we do really well here in New Zealand, I think, is the customer service side of things. So it's going to be about keeping that at the forefront. Obviously combined with all the other things that influence the overall experience. But technology is going to play a huge part in streamlining all of those services and making them more efficient. I think from a safety and security point of view, the threat landscape is changing more rapidly than it ever has before. And as those risks evolve, so too will the technology need to change to address those. We're already seeing a trend with technology, I guess, becoming more personalized. So I think that's only going to continue. Sustainability is going to be a really interesting area. I think that increases in importance. I think there'll become a heavier reliance on technology to help venues and events reduce their environmental footprint. But I think too it's worth mentioning as well the human element is still going to remain critical. Like events are ultimately about people, and the tech's there to enable that rather than replace the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And then thinking finally, my final question is very much on a human element. And it's the question I ask all of our guests. But is there any advice or kind of insights you'd like to share that might help the next generation of venue operators coming through?
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate the question. I guess, firstly, I think something we do well in our industry, well, certainly here in New Zealand, is developing people. And, while it can be competitive at times, it's also very collaborative. So I would say stay connected. Don't be afraid to reach out to industry colleagues and leaders in particular. They're usually more than happy to help when they can. Um, Obviously, to make it in this business, you got to have that passion for events first and foremost. So, I think a big reason people work in this business and stay in this business is, they just absolutely live for those moments and those experiences that live events bring. So, I would say be adaptable and proactive. I think some of the best operators in our business are those that can think on their feet and as well as bring together people under pressure. Um, like I said before, it's a people industry. Ultimately, the fans, the staff, the partners that you work with. We're in the relationship business, so make sure to invest in those. Trust and communication with people, I think, will get you through most challenges. But ultimately, just remember why we do it. Live events create some incredible moments, and I think being part of uh, bringing those and making those for people is an absolute privilege.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some really good advice there, and some great sentiments as well. But that's a wrap. So thanks, Matt, so much for joining us today. Really interesting, really insightful session. And really great to hear what's going on in New Zealand, what's going on at Sky Stadium, and also the really good work that's taking place with the Crowded Places Business Advisory Group over there as well. So thanks so much for sparing the time. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Really appreciate it, and thanks for coming out to us in our little corner of the world. Appreciate it.
And thanks to you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the interview with Matt. If you did, please do give us a like and a subscribe. And to find out more about VenuePro, please visit venupro.co. Thanks very much and see you again soon.